All right, so ladies and gentlemen, please walk into this room as we are very close to the opening ceremony now. Please walk into this room, come in. For those of you who can hear me outside, please now proceed into this hall for the opening ceremony. We are due to begin in a couple of minutes. นะครับขออนุญาตเรียนเชิญนะครับทางผู้บังคับบัญชาทางแขกของเรานะครับที่อยู่ด้านนอกนะครับขออนุญาตเรียนเชิญมาด้านในห้องนี้ได้แล้วนะครับเดี๋ยวเราจะเริ่มพิธีเปิดกันอีกสักครู่หนึ่งนะครับเรียนเชิญครับ
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as we welcome our esteemed Chair, General Songwit Nungpakdi, the Chief of Defense Forces, Royal Thai Armed Forces, Thailand.
And of course, accompanying him, we all have esteemed ambassadors and chiefs of defense force from various countries joining him on this occasion as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you very much. Sawasdee krab, and a warm welcome to all our distinguished guests here this morning, to Dr. Surakiart Sathyanthai, to General Songwit Nunpakdi, our Chief of Defense Forces, and the esteemed ambassadors from various countries, together, of course, with all the chiefs of defense force from various countries joining in, as well as ladies and gentlemen here. My name is Rear Admiral Surasan Kongsiri. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you here.
สวัสดีค่ะ I am Wing Commander Orapim Phakdi Songkram. We are honored to be here as your Master of Ceremonies for these sessions, the Thailand Security Dialogue 2025, under the theme of Peace and Security in a Global Disruption. To begin our program, we have prepared a brief video presentation that highlights the key themes and objectives of today's event. Please direct your attention to the screen as we watch the VTR.
And that is the opening video for our dialogue here for the next 2 days also, ladies and gentlemen, for peace and security in a global disruption. And of course, in the next 2 days also, we'll be listening into a lot of experiences and wealth of knowledge shared by experts in the fields of global disruption as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to mark the opening ceremony this morning, we would like to officially commence the Thailand Security Dialogue 2025 by inviting General Pongthep Kyaw the Commanding General of National Defense Studies Institute, or NDSI, of Thailand, to deliver a statement, please, sir.
สวัสดีครับ Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. General Songwit, Dr. Surakiart, Chief of Defense Forces, Ambassadors, Defense Attaches, esteemed leaders, honored guest speakers, and moderators, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me to extend a warm welcome to you all here in Bangkok. On behalf of our Chief of Defense Forces, General Songwit Nonpakdi, we are delighted to have you all here with us today and for the next 2 days. This year marks the second edition of this dialogue. We are focusing on peace and security in a global disruption. This is a critical follow-up to last year's discussion, which centered on peace under geopolitical shift. The security landscape, both global and regional, is undergoing rapid, profound changes. We are seeing complex and pressing security challenges emerge from geopolitical realignment and intensifying competitions among major powers. These dynamics are unfolding not only worldwide, but also here in the Indo-Pacific and also in Southeast Asia. Rising geopolitical tension, deepening division of power, and persistent inequality are all becoming more severe, with far-reaching consequences for every nation in our region. In this era of transformative change, the pursuit for peace and security has never been more urgent. A peaceful world is not just an idea. It is a shared inspiration that demands cooperation, dialogue, and reconciliation. For over 5 decades, ASEAN has served as an anchor of peace and stability in Southeast Asia. As a member of ASEAN with strong relationship with all parties, Thailand is uniquely positioned to serve as a mediator, facilitating discussion and regional peace and stability. We at the Royal Thai Armed Forces Headquarters, through the National Defense Studies Institute, recognize the crucial role of the military in fostering an environment to trust amidst these uncertainty circumstances. Here, we have convened leading voices, institutions, and organizations dedicated to global security, to exchange perspective, new ideas, and explore solutions. We are united by a common purpose, is the pursuit of peace and security. We believe that true innovation can only arise when nations come together in collaboration. I'm deeply honored by the warm interest and strong support. With a total of more than 300 participants representing nearly 30 countries here with us in this room. I'm confident that the discussion we will have over the next 2 days will be both inspiring and impactful. It is my firm hope that the diverse perspective exchange here will pave the way towards building a more peaceful and equitable society. May this dialogue serve as a collective force that drives forward in shaping a future of peace and security. Thank you all here again for being here today. Welcome to Thailand. Welcome to Thailand Security Dialogue 2025. Let it begin. Thank you very much.
Thank Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And a big round of applause, please, to... Once again, thank you so much to General Pongthep Kao Chayo, the Commanding General of the National Defence Studies Institute, of course, with the opening statement there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we continue on with the keynote address.
Yes, and now we move to the keynote address. It is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Surakiat Sathyanthai, former Deputy Prime Minister of Thailand, who will speak on the pulse of global security in the upcoming decade.
And of course, as General Pongthep mentioned, in pursuit for peace and security, can we really find peace in the world? With this topic of the pulse of global security in the upcoming decade, we'll be hearing, hopefully, some of the challenges faced in the global situation now. Now, let me talk to you about the biography of Dr. Surakiat Sathyanthai. Professor Dr. Surakiat Sathyanthai is the chairman of the Asian Peace and Reconciliation Council, or APRC, and serves on several advisory councils, including BOA, Forum for Asia and Leaders for Peace. He holds a bachelor degree of law from Chulalongkorn University, a Master of Arts in Law and Diplomacy from the Fletcher School, Tufts University, and a doctorate and Master of Law from Harvard Law School. Dr. Surakiat has held significant political positions in Thailand, including Deputy Prime Minister, Acting Minister of Culture, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Minister of Finance. He has also contributed internationally, co-chairing election observation missions in Nepal with former President Jimmy Carter and advising on Rakhine State in Myanmar. In academia, Dr. Surakiat has been Dean of the Faculty of Law at Chulalongkorn University and held various academic positions at prestigious institutions like Harvard and Brown universities. In the private sector, he also serves in many leading corporate appointments of major international companies such as PepsiCo and Nestle. Dr. Surakiat has been very active and he has been actively involved in public charity, notably with the Thai Red Cross. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Surakiat Sathyanthai on the stage.
Excellency General Songwit Nunpakdi, Chief of Defence Forces, Royal Thai Armed Forces. So glad to be with you this year for the second time, and I really commend your initiative and giving full support in initiating the Thailand Security Dialogue as a platform for people from every corners of the security apparatus to be exchanging views, especially now that we are going through a very profound global disruptions. Excellency General Pongthep Kao Chayo, Commander General of National Defence Studies Institute, Thailand. Excellencies, distinguished ambassadors, Excellencies, Chief of Armed Forces, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to join all of you today at the Thailand Security Dialogue 2025. Allow me to begin by expressing my deep appreciation to General Pongthep and General Songwit for this important gathering. At a time when disruptions seem to define our era, whether in geopolitics, geoeconomics, technology, or the environment, our task is not only to manage crisis, but also to envision a sustainable and peaceful security order for the decades ahead. The theme of this conference, Peace and Security in a Global Disruption, cannot be more timely. Disruption today is not a passing storm. It is the atmosphere we all live in, shaping the trajectory of nations and lives of citizens. Around us, we are seeing intensifying rivalry among major powers, the weaponization of trade and technology, the rise of new and unpredictable security threats, and the human consequences of climate change and pandemics. In the Indo-Pacific, these dynamics converge with particular intensity. And for Thailand, disruption is no longer an abstract concept. It is our daily reality. Given our geographical position at the crossroads of continental and maritime Asia, one of the greatest challenges before us, of course, is geopolitical confrontation. The rivalry between major powers reverberates through trade, investment, financial and monetary competition, technology, and also territorial disputes. Tensions of the South China Sea, the Korea Peninsula, the Taiwan Strait, and conflicts close to our own borders remind us that the cost of miscalculation is high and the margin for error is narrow. In Europe, the war in Ukraine has demonstrated how quickly conflicts can escalate to destabilize the entire regions. In the Middle East, the violence in Gaza shows how the breakdown of trust and dialogue can inflict immeasurable human suffering. Closer to home, the crisis in Myanmar is a reminder that instability does not stay within the borders. It spills over into flows of displaced persons, trafficking, and humanitarian strain on neighbors. Peace and reconciliation in Myanmar is therefore a deep concern for Thailand, for ASEAN, and for the whole region. The rockets fired from Cambodia onto hospitals, people's houses, and public places in Thailand caused mass evacuation of hundreds of thousands of Thai villages in many provinces affected by the armed attack. The landmines causing casualty to people and tension along the border between Thailand and Cambodia is of great concern for the region. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, global military spending reached $2.44 trillion in 2023, the highest ever recorded, with Asia and Oceania seeing the largest regional increase. History teaches us that when security dilemmas intensify, escalation often comes suddenly and with devastating effect. For ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, therefore, the lesson is clear. We must remain a zone of dialogue, not a zone of conflict. Mechanisms such as the ASEAN Regional Forum, the ASEAN Defense Ministers Forum, the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation may not be perfect, but they remain indispensable platforms for confidence building, for preventive diplomacy and conflict resolutions. Thailand has long believed that preventive diplomacy must stand at the core of our regional strategy because talking is always better than fighting, and trust, even very fragile, is always better than suspicion. Today, modern and conventional war occurred simultaneously, and it is well proven that conventional war has affected economies of many countries not party to the conflict. Sanctions on Russia, for example, have disrupted energy and food markets worldwide. Attacks on ships passing through conflict zones, like in the Red Sea, have forced vessels to reroute, raising costs and delaying supply chains. This demonstrates the deep interrelationship between the modern and conventional war, and between the armed conflict and impact on global economy. Geopolitical rivalry and reciprocal tariffs have also led to fragmented globalization, affecting exports, investment, and global supply chains. We are living in an emerging new international economic order, in my view, where bilateral and regional free trade agreements may increasingly replace the World War II multilateral trading system. In addition to the free trade areas, like we have here in this part of the world, the ASEAN-China, ASEAN-Japan, ASEAN-South Korea free trade area, ASEAN-India, ASEAN-Australia and New Zealand, all the way to the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, largest free trade area in the world at the moment, comprising 16 countries. It seems that the world is moving into three fragmented trade relations. In addition to the regional free trade area that I've referred to, the three fragmented trade relations would be one with the United States, one with China, and one with the rest of the world. Are we going through this emerging new international economic order, replacing the World Trade Organizations and all the multilateral institutions that we have seen since World War II? What is more complex is the use of reciprocal tariffs as a negotiating tool to achieve political and security objectives, ranging from expanding permanent military presence in various countries to an exchange for ending armed conflicts. The role of the United States in ending armed conflicts between India and Pakistan, between Thailand and Cambodia, and Russia and Ukraine are examples of the use of reciprocal tariffs and threat of economic sanction to achieve political and security objectives of a certain country. Therefore, global security, both today and in the future, involves many more interlinked factors than in the past decade. Equally important is the respect for international law in any conflict or skirmishes. Principles such as jus in bello or jus ad bellum, or the law of war and the law in war, remain vital. For example, no use of force against unprovoked attack, no attacks on civilians or civil communities during an armed conflict, and the prohibition of the use of indiscriminate weapons such as personal landmines. These are not abstract ideals. They are foundations of international law. They are foundation of human dignity in times of crisis. Thailand has long adhered to peaceful methods of conflict prevention and resolution. Over the past 4 decades, we have successfully applied bilateral mechanisms to prevent and to resolve disputes with our neighbors. The joint boundary committees at various levels between Thailand and its neighbor, and the establishment of joint development areas of petroleum resources in the Gulf of Thailand, especially with Malaysia, stand as concrete examples of preventive diplomacy in practice. While bilateral dialogues may proceed slowly, they have rendered amicable and sustainable results. They remind us that patience, persistence, and respect for law can turn potential flashpoints into opportunities and cooperation. And my experience as 4-year foreign minister and 2 years deputy prime minister have taught me well that bilateral mechanism has worked and have worked for dealing with complex issues with countries in the region. But confrontation is the only one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is cooperation. The threats we face today are interconnected and transnational. Terrorism, organized crime, cyber attacks, pandemics, and climate-induced disasters do not respect national borders. They cannot be addressed by a single state acting alone. the scam center in one place can cause lives, suffering, and casualty to many around the world. And this is something that Excellency General Songwit has been working very hard in the past years. Consider this, the International Telecommunication Union estimates that 5.4 billion people, 2/3 of humanity, were online by 2023. This connectivity creates vast opportunity, of course, but also unprecedented vulnerabilities to cyber attacks, disinformation, or to be very specific, fake news and scam center. The World Health Organization has warned that the next pandemic is not a matter of if, but is a matter of when. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change projects that by 2050, over 1.2 billion people could be displaced globally due to climate change or climate catastrophe and natural disasters. With climate catastrophe, biodiversity will also disappear. These are not distant scenarios at all. They are looming realities, unfortunately. This is why I believe that the next decade requires us to build a new security and peace paradigm, one that complements traditional defense with regional and global cooperation. In this paradigm, ASEAN must act as a convener, as a bridge between East and West, and Thailand as a facilitator of dialogue. ASEAN should act as a convener for dialogue on a new global order in the forum called Asia Cooperation Dialogue, or ACD, which consists of over 30 countries across Asia. ASEAN should also act as facilitator in fostering economic cooperation among 21 economies in the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, which has both the United States and China as members. Our strategic position and long-standing policy of balanced engagement equip us to play this role. And ASEAN should also take a proactive role in the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, which comprises of 16 countries, to design a new international economic order in the midst of unilateral action by a certain country. I was in Kuala Lumpur the other day attending the BOAO, Forum for Asia Regional Conference, and His Excellency Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, gave a very powerful speech, one of which I would like to refer to is that ASEAN is playing a proactive role in the RCEP, and that there will be a summit meeting among leaders of the RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, sometime soon in the future. That's the role of ASEAN. That's the role of Thailand. That's the role of ASEAN in the region and beyond. Looking ahead, 3 impulses will shape global security in profound ways. The first is, of course, technology. Artificial intelligence, cyber warfare, and autonomous weapons are transforming the battlefield as profoundly as nuclear weapons did in the last century. While artificial intelligence offers opportunities for enhanced security, it also introduces a new vulnerabilities, from cyber sabotage of critical infrastructure to the potential misuse of AI in autonomous decision-making, and also in physically attacking targets in another country, party to the conflict. The second impulse is economics. As global fragments, supply chains are being reshaped, and interdependence itself is being weaponized. In 2024, the World Trade Organization recorded more than 3,000 active trade restrictions worldwide, triple the number from a decade earlier. Economic measures are increasingly used as strategic weapons, blurring the line between commerce and conflict. The multilateral institution has been disregarded. Multilateral cooperation seems to be replaced by bilateral, if not unilateral, action. And the third impulse is human security, from energy scarcity to food insecurity, from climate-driven migration to public health crisis. The stability of societies will increasingly depend on how well we protect not only states but also people. Human insecurity breeds instability. If we are to secure peace in this disrupted world, we must broaden our understanding of security to include not only military might, but also resilience, sustainability, and human dignity. And on this particular issue, as Chancellor of Chulalongkorn University, we will be happy to be working closely with the Thai Armed Forces to look at this particular issue. Thailand may not be a great power, but we can be a great connector. From our role in Cambodian peace process in the 1980s, which I was involved as advisor to the late Prime Minister General Chatchai, I was borrowed from Chulalongkorn University to be helping that particular Prime Minister, to the promotion of the Asia Cooperation Dialogue in 2002 that I alluded to earlier. Thailand has consistently sought to build bridges. Our foreign policy tradition emphasizes balance, inclusivity, and engagement. In this decade of disruption, Thailand's greatest contribution will be to work with like-minded countries to foster trust, convene dialogue, and ensure that our region remains one of cooperation rather than confrontation. Ladies and gentlemen, the impulses on global security in the upcoming decade will test us in ways we have never experienced. The stakes are high, the risks are real, and the pathways are uncertain. But disruption need not mean destruction. If we can transform rivalry into resilience, confrontation into cooperation, then disruption can become the catalyst for a more peaceful and stable order. Thailand history has shown that even small nations can make a large difference. When we choose dialogue over division, patience over provocation, and principle over power, our role is not to dominate, but to connect, not to escalate, but to reconcile, not to withdraw, but to engage. Let me leave you, ladies and gentlemen, with a Thai saying, สามัคคีคือพลัง Unity is strength. In a fractured world, unity built on respect, on existing law, and cooperation will be the ultimate foundation of peace. As Kofi Annan once said, we may have different religions, different languages, different colored skin, but we all belong to one human race. The responsibility is ours, but so too is the opportunity. If we act with wisdom, with courage and foresight, then from this stage of disruption, we can together build not only security, but also hope for generations to come. Thank you very much for your attention.
And thank you very much to Professor Dr. Surikit Sathyanthai, our former Deputy Prime Minister of Thailand, and of course his wonderful statement on the pulse of global security in the upcoming decade. Certainly has been a very important keynote address by our keynote speaker here.
So, to present the token of appreciation, I would like to invite General Songwit Nunpakdi to the stage to present the token of appreciation to the keynote speaker. Please, sir.
Next, we would like to ask the two gentlemen to remain on the stage as we would like to proceed to the next activity, which is a group picture, please. And we would like to invite the following representatives on the stage, please, to join in the two gentlemen.
Yes, so for the first shot, I would like to kindly invite Chief of Defence Staff of Canadian Armed Forces, Commander of Royal Brunei Armed Forces, Chief of Defence Force of Malaysia, Deputy Chief of Defence Forces of Thailand, Deputy Chief of Joint Staff, Thailand, Commanding General at National Defence Studies Institute, and Deputy Commanding General at National Defence Studies Institute on the stage for group photo.
So we shall have this as a first picture, please, ladies and gentlemen. Look straight at the cameras, please. All right. Okay. Ready? On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So thank you. And of course, for the second shot, we would like to invite all the ambassadors to Thailand to please join the gentlemen and lady on the stage, please. Ambassadors from Canada, India, Myanmar, Timor-Leste, United States, and Vietnam. We believe that and Russia as well, certainly. All right, so once again, look straight at the cameras, please. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Perfect shot. Thank you so much. And thank you to the ambassadors. Ambassadors, I think you can now return to your seats, but the rest, please remain on the stage, please. And now we would like to invite the defense attaches, please. Defense attaches to Thailand. Please come on the stage and join the ladies and gentlemen on the stage for the next group picture. So we shall have altogether 4 pictures or 4 shots. As a reminder, it would be nice to take off the badges. It would be nice to take off the badges as well while taking the pictures. General Sam and General, can you take off the badges, please, from Malaysia and China? It would be nice to take off the badges, please. And the General as well, next to you. All right, are you ready? Okay, so another great picture, please. Look straight at the cameras. 1, 2, 3. Or we may need to shift the lines a little bit to the right, to the left, or to your right. To your right, please. Maybe 2 steps to the right. Okay, so that looks great. And for the folks standing in the second row, make sure that you can see the cameras in front of you, okay? So look straight at the cameras now, please. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more shot. Okay, this is a great picture now. Our cameramen would like to take several shots here. Okay. Are you ready เดี๋ยวขอกล้องด้านหน้าเอามือลงด้วยนะครับเพราะมาบังกล้องหลัง Okay ready 1 2 3 Very good thank you very much ladies and gentlemen thank you and of course one more shot for the final shot I'd like to invite the guest speakers please one more shot and the defense attaches please return to your seats So the guest speakers, please join in on the stage. We promise you that we'll try to make it as short and as quick as possible, but we have to make this. We have to do this because obviously this is a momentous occasion for all the distinguished representatives to join on the stage and to be part of this historical moment of the Thailand Security Dialogue 2025. Okay, so same procedure, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you can see the cameras in front of you, especially for those standing in the second row. You look over the shoulders of the people in front of you, and you can see the gaps in between. Right, just making sure that we have everyone in the center, or kind of. Okay, เรียบร้อยนะครับเดี๋ยว Okay, so ready for the pictures? 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. กล้องด้านหน้านะครับเดี๋ยวลงนิดนึงเพราะว่าด้านหลังเขาถ่ายไม่ได้ Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Very good. Thank you so much. A big round of applause, please, to everyone. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for that hard work in joining us for the group pictures. Now you all deserve a coffee break. We shall have a quick coffee break, please.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a brief break in front of Crystal Hall Bay before we continue with our first panel discussion. We will resume at 10:30 hours.
So that will be for a while. Ladies and gentlemen, you all deserve a coffee break. So half an hour, coffee break indeed. And of course, we would like to express our gratitude to the sponsors that you can actually see on the screen here. This is a lineup of all the kind sponsors, the kind-hearted corporates contributing to the organization of this wonderful event of Thailand Security Dialogue 2025. And now, as we mentioned, please take a break of coffee. There are plenty of food and coffee and drinks around, and we'll be back here at 10:30. We'll see you later. ในช่วงนี้ก็ขออนุญาตพักเบรกสักครึ่งชั่วโมงนะครับแล้วเราจะกลับมาในห้องนี้เวลา 10:30 น.ครับขอบคุณครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะ
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you can hear my voice, please move into the hall, to the Crystal Hall B. ขออนุญาตเรียนเชิญนะครับทางแขกผู้มีเกียรติของเรานะครับถ้าได้ยินเสียงผมนะครับขออนุญาตเรียนเชิญเข้ามาในห้อง Crystal Hall B ได้แล้วนะครับเดี๋ยวเราจะเริ่มเซสชั่นที่1นะครับซึ่งวันนี้ต้องบอกว่ามีเนื้อหามีหัวข้อที่น่าสนใจและน่าติดตามเป็นอย่างมากเลยทีเดียวพลาดไม่ได้เลยนะครับท่านใดที่ยังอยู่ด้านนอกนะครับขอเรียนเชิญนะครับเข้ามาข้างในได้เลยนะครับ so again ladies and gentlemen if you can hear my voice and you're still outside please make your way into Crystal Hall B we promise you that we have a lot of interesting topics to discuss and to listen to some of the experts' opinions and views, and of course Q&A, which is another very important session that will provide for all of you should you have any questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats as we are about to begin our first plenary session.
We have already kickstart with a very interesting topic and address by our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Surakit Sathyanthai earlier this morning. And of course, he has already fed you with some of the food for thought of the paradigm shifts of the global security situation, the challenges that we face, and how we should tackle together some of the thought-provoking or the thought-provoking ideas that perhaps and hopefully some of you might take home with and think about it, and how do we work together in order to sustain the peace and in order to make peace prevail. So that's some of the issue that we have already addressed by our keynote speaker this morning. So once again, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Thailand Security Dialogue 2025. As we mentioned to you already, we already had a wonderful early morning session with a keynote address by Professor Dr. Surakit Sathyanthai, and hopefully it was a thought-provoking ideas and suggestions given by our expert there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we shall continue with the first plenary session of the day, which is a panel discussion on geopolitical confrontation and conflict implications for security strategies. And I would like to introduce to you one by one our speakers and moderator for this session. First, I would like to introduce to you the first speaker, Dr. Joseph Liu Chin Yong. He is the Tan Ka Key Chair in Comparative and International Politics and a Senior Research Advisor at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies, Nanyang Technological University in Singapore, also chairing the Middle East Institute, National University of Singapore. His expertise covers Muslim politics and social movements in Southeast Asia, alongside the geopolitics and geoeconomics of the Asia-Pacific, reflected in his many books and publications, including being a regular columnist for the Straits Times. Now, Dr. Joseph Liu Chin Yong holds a PhD in International Relations from the London School of Economics and Political Science.
And next, General Jenny Cullinan, the current Chief of Defense Staff for the Canadian Armed Forces, is a highly decorated leader who graduated from the Royal Military College of Canada in engineering and holds multiple master degrees from Université Laval and the United States Army Command and General Staff College. Her extensive career includes commanding 2 combat engineer regiments, Royal Military College Sancton, and 2nd Canadian Division, where she led over 10,000 soldiers in crisis operations during flood relief efforts in Quebec. In 2008, she became the first woman in Canadian Armed Forces history to command the combat arms unit. She also headed NATO mission Iraq from 2019 to 2020. General Cullinan has participated in expeditionary operations in Bosnia, Herzegovina, Golan Heights, and Afghanistan.
And of course, another great woman to be in our panel today is Major General retired Susan Bonani Varaslam. She's the director of the ever-famous Daniel K. Inouye Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies, or APCSS. She assumed the role in January 2025 after serving as president of the East-West Center. She's a Hawaii native and concluded a distinguished 34-year military career in 2021, retiring as a Major General after serving in all 3 components of the United States Army. Her last military assignment involved five and a half years at the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, where she was the mobilization assistant to the commander, at times acting as Chief of Staff and Deputy Commander. Her extensive service includes leading the Joint Intelligence Center in Balad, Iraq, during Operation Iraqi Freedom 3. And her academic achievements include master's degree from the University of Hawaii at Manoa and the United States Army War College.
And next, General Songwit Nunpakdi is the 35th Chief of Defense Forces of Thailand. He graduated from the Armed Forces Academy's Preparatory School, Virginia Military Institute, and completed multiple advanced military courses. He holds a master's in civil engineering from Florida Institute of Technology. He has commanded various units, including the 11th Infantry Regiment King's Guard and the 1st Division King's Guard. He held senior positions in the Royal Thai Army and played a pivotal role in the Striker Division's establishment. His operational experience includes peace enforcement in Thailand's southern provinces.
And of course, our moderator is one and only Professor Dr. Thitinan Phongsutthirak. Professor Dr. Thitinan Phongsutthirak is the current professor of international relations at Chulalongkorn University's Faculty of Political Science. He is a graduate of University of California at Santa Barbara with distinctions, Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, and a PhD from London School of Economics, winning the UK's Best Dissertation Prize in 2002. Professor Dr. Thitinan's expertise focuses on the comparative politics and geopolitics, geoeconomics at ASEAN and the Indo-Pacific in view of major powers competition. He is also an analyst of Thailand, ASEAN, Southeast Asia. He has authored many articles and books in many prints, including for the Bangkok Post and Nikkei Asia Review. Dr. Thitinan is former director of the Institute of Security and International Studies at Chulalongkorn University, and he is also currently serves as senior fellow at the Institute. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator of the day, Dr. Thitinan Phongsutthirak, and the four panelists, please. A big round of applause to all of them. Dr. Thitinan, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me get to it. We have now not 90 minutes, but 80 minutes, I think. We want to conclude at noon. We have a short lunch break, so not to waste any time, and we reconvene at 1 o'clock. So we have a distinguished panel. Thank you very much for including me, General Songwit. And this is the kind of conference that we like to hold in Thailand because we need voice, we need agency, we need weight, and so Thailand would like to be more engaged in this way. So I really commend the effort, the enterprise. The topic at hand is about geopolitics. Geopolitical conflict, confrontation, tension. And we're here today because the world is not great. It's not going in the right direction. There's a kind of a broad, ongoing breakdown of the rules-based international system. I'm not going to say it's a rules-based liberal international system, but international order, international system is really wobbly, fragile, and breaking down in many places. We call it fragmented, fractured. And this has manifested in conflicts. We've seen the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But even around here, we have border conflict with Thailand and Cambodia, Middle East wars. So, you look around, the world is not what it used to be. There was a good run, just to set the scene. There was a Cold War from the late 1940s to the late 1980s, 4 decades. And that Cold War was deeply consequential. It was communist expansionism, Soviet Union, around here in the Vietnam War, Vietnam invasion of Cambodia. And then we had a good run of about 3 decades of globalization following the end of the Cold War, right? When we got the internet, the mobile phone, the smartphone, and so on. And that run was about 20, 30 years. And then the last 10 years, 15 years or so, I would pinpoint it as about 2012. There was friction, contention, contest, geostrategic contest between U.S. and China, and we cannot get around that. So it used to be U.S.-Soviet Union, now U.S.-China. And U.S.-China confrontation conflict has led to, the trade, the tariffs, and so on. This makes me think to the end of the Cold War, I'm going to invite my good friend and, eminent scholar, think tank scholar, and also academic, Professor Joseph Liu, to kind of react to this. Give us a little bit of an assessment, a broad overview of what's happening. At the end of the Cold War, there was a big debate about the U.S., in the U.S., what to do. A small faction said in the Republican Party, time to come home. Enough policing the world. Enough of these burdens of paying for the allies and providing security for the world. And that faction lost, but 30 years, 35 years, 40 years later, that minority faction in the Republican Party has taken over the party and won over the White House. And now they're in power. And they're doing what they say they're going to do. Unilateralism, tariffs, withdrawal, regress, not providing security like they used to. As a result, we feel more insecure. And of course, China is really the other side of that whole agenda. So, Dr. Liu, you were just in the U.S. recently, I know, and you've co-written an article about in Foreign Affairs about Southeast Asia, whether Southeast Asia has made its choice. There's always a choice between U.S. and China, and we don't want to make that choice. But I think that some Southeast Asian countries are maybe already kind of leaning, especially with the tariffs from Washington under the Trump administration and its unilateral moves and so on. Is that the case? What's in it now for Southeast Asia as the paradigm shifts from the old Cold War to the continuation of that Cold War with China, U.S., not Soviet Union and U.S.?
Well, first, thank you, Jay, for having me on this very distinguished panel, and thank you to the organizers for inviting me. It's a great honor to be here. Let me first make two very quick apologies. The first is I had prepared some initial remarks. I'm going to totally deviate from those remarks, so apologies to the organizers. And second, maybe some of the things I'm going to say may be a bit provocative, but I am doing it in the spirit of fostering discussion about the real challenges that we face today. Now, specific to your question, I think if you talk to historians will tell us that, the last 80 years of the post-war US-led global order is actually a drop in the bucket, right, in the larger sweep of. I think that's true from a historical perspective, but I also think that's a bit of a cold comfort for us today because we are in the throes of having to deal with this shift, right? We are present at the junction of this transition. Question is, are we present in hindsight at a fundamental change of the global order, right? And this is something that we all grapple with. I want to just very quickly share some thoughts about what some of these changes have been for us, certainly from a Southeast Asian perspective. Last night, I don't know how many of you read the news last night of a very interesting result of the U.S. Federal Court of Appeals, which upheld the trade court's decision that the Trump administration's use of IEEPA to justify tariffs is actually, there's no legal basis to it. Yeah? So what that has done is it's triggered another round of very interesting developments that will unfold over the next few months, maybe even a year, depending on the process. The decision has been thrown back to the lower courts to clarify. There could be more appeals. The Trump administration, I think, will find other ways, including sectoral tariffs, in order to get its way on this matter. Right? But the point is that everything today is being securitized. Yeah, we heard in the opening remarks about the weaponization of trade and tariffs, and indeed that has been the case over the last few months. So that's my first point. Everything is being securitized. My second point, very quickly, is that from my perspective, the United States today does not appear to have a sort of a grand strategy or even strategic principles guiding its foreign policy. Why do I say that? For a number of reasons. Number one, the president himself sees China as an adversary, but as a negotiation adversary. Yeah. The national security establishment sees China as a strategic adversary. Very different perspectives on China. Number two, if you look at tariffs, and we all know this, we are still trying to figure out what is the end game and what is the objectives of tariffs. Is it national security? Is it about rebalancing trade? Is it about generating new resources for the coffers of the government? Is it about using it as a negotiation tool or leverage? If you look at the recent tariffs on India, an additional 25%. Why? Because India buys oil from Russia. Those tariffs were announced against India, but not against China, which buys oil from Russia. And they were announced around the time where there was a summit between the President of the United States and the President of Russia, where the sort of romance was reinforced, right? So can't quite figure out what is the strategic imperative behind tariffs. Number three, specific to defense strategy. Now, we know that the United States defense posture in our region has, for the last 80 years, been about underwriting the economic growth, development, and prosperity of our region, which is, of course, a matter of interest for the United States as well. And all the friends, allies, and partners of the United States have been very appreciative of that. Today, U.S. trade policy is undermining the very growth, development, and prosperity that U.S. defense policy is seeking to underwrite. Yeah. So again, for the rest of us, trying to make sense of this disconnect. In fact, it's more than just a disconnect. I think in the parlance of friends, allies, and partners, those of us who are included in that group are starting to reconsider and rethink what it means to be a friend, ally, or partner of the United States today. Because I think it is very different from what it may have meant yesterday. And a last point, I don't want to monopolize the time. A last point is, if you look at US and China, they seem to be totally fixated and obsessed with not just competing with each other, but defeating each other, as in the nature of great power competition. Unfortunately, there's very little interest in wanting to win over the world. Yeah, this is something I find quite striking about US-China rivalry. What do I mean by this? If you look at China, whether it's wolf warrior diplomacy, whether it's approach towards the South China Sea, or closer to home for Thailand, the Mekong region, is China really trying to win friends? I'll give you an example. In the South China Sea, use of force or assertiveness can win you a few features, right? But in the process, will lose you the court of public opinion, certainly as far as Southeast Asia is concerned. In the case of the United States, very vividly recalling the remarks that Secretary Hegseth said in response to a question at Shangri-La Dialogue, I do thanks, not tariffs, right? Very striking in the disconnect with regards to my first point about strategic thinking. Yeah, it's siloed now, right? And that's not helpful. And that's not helpful for us in a region where growth and development is still critical for us, and the interconnectedness between both American defense policy and American trade and economic policy is central in terms of whether or not they are harmonized. Yeah, so I think I'll leave it at that, and we can pick up some further points.
Thank you very much, Joe, for keeping it concise, but also succinct and clear. I think just tease out 2 points there. There's a battle raging in the U.S., right, about their own internal dynamics, their own policies, and so the Trump administration is being challenged by the courts about its economic nationalism and tariff offensive, and I think it will probably reach the Supreme Court. That's one point. I think so. Within America, there's not even a strong consensus about the direction ahead. Different competing visions of America's role in the world. Second, I think this thing about the point about rethinking. If the U.S. is like this, what does it mean for friends and allies and partners. This goes back to Southeast Asia too about if the U.S. is so unreliable, even if you're an ally, you still get 10% baseline tariff. As an ally, everybody gets something. At least they're consistent and they're fair. But to allies, that's not the expectation. So let me come to Canada. Canada is a middle power in its own right, and no country would know the issues with the U.S. as well as Canada. Next door, middle power, ally. I mean, through thick and thin, the borders, people go back and forth, and what's happening now with the new administration for Canada must be somewhat shocking, right? Let me invite General Jenny Carignon, but we can call you General Jenny, to please share with us a little bit of the Canadian perspective on what's happening with from Washington and its impact for Asia and also for the rest of the world.
Thank you, Dr. Titanen. It's a privilege to be here as part of this great panel and engage in discussions on our common security challenges. And I will say, as a Canadian coming from the French part of Canada, I share a lot of commonality with the audience as I have to now express myself in my second language. So it's another level of complexity. So really, really appreciate the invitation and Thailand hosting this great conference. So thank you very much. There is a term that I use to attempt to describe the situation we find ourselves in, and it's VUCA, volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous world. And there's many accelerants to this VUCA-ness of the world currently. And in recent year, we have seen, in fact, a convergence of threats coming together. I guess this is what the big difference that we are currently observing from our perspective. So the return of strategic competition, the growing influence of authoritarian governments and democratic backsliding, rapid technological advances, including systems with transformative military applications, the rise of asymmetric warfare, where inexpensive commercial technology can neutralize costly legacy systems, gray zone confrontation in a new and emerging domains. We're talking about AI, cyber, and space, and so forth. And all of this against the backdrop of polarization, disinformation, and climate change. So speaking about accelerants to these dynamics, this is really what I'm talking about here. And these are shared experiences around the world. What happens in one region reverberates globally, and nothing occurs really in a vacuum. So as home of half of the world's population and as a region of enormous strategic and economic importance, this is particularly true in the Indo-Pacific region. It is a constant balancing act here and across the world between every state's right to pursue their own interests and our collective responsibility to promote regional security and stability. So this is how Canada approaches the global environment currently. Southeast Asia is a diverse region, but its threats mirrors many Canada faces at home: climate change, economic security, cyber attacks, and just to name a few. And because of the scope of these threats is global, the response must also be global. No nation can meet those challenges alone. And this is why our partnerships are more critical than ever. And as a fellow Pacific nation, Canada believes in the value of regular, open dialogue and collaboration with Indo-Pacific partners. Each of us have our own approach, domestic realities, and defense priorities, but ultimately, we all seek the same outcome: peace, stability, and prosperity, and we know that conflict and war does not bring any of that. As we know, collaboration is the best way to confront complexity by bringing greater clarity, unity, and purpose to our efforts. This is why Canada is strengthening its presence in the Indo-Pacific and expanding our relationships to help ensure this region remains free, open, and inclusive. And this commitment is actually anchored in our national defense policy, our North Strong and Free, as well as in our specific Indo-Pacific strategy. It emphasizes trade, investment, capacity building, and military cooperation. So for Canada and the Canadian Armed Forces, this commitment takes many forms. We have expanded our senior leadership engagements in the region. This is my fourth visit in the region in less than a year. And I'll tell you frankly, folks, it's exhausting. The jet lag is absolutely crushing. But our hosts are so welcoming. The hospitality and the cooperation absolutely phenomenal. Canada is a proud strategic partner with ASEAN, and we pursue collaboration through this and other fora in the region. And in the field, CAF members work directly with militaries across the region, including the Royal Thai Armed Forces, through the military training and cooperation program. And we've also observed Thailand-led multilateral exercises, and we also commit various naval deployments in the region in a near persistent manner. So this is really how we are approaching the region in terms of military. In fact, at this very moment, one of our ships, the Ville de Québec, is deployed in the region as part of a United Kingdom-led carrier strike group. Just last week, a crew took part in Exercise Elon alongside the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Australian Defence Force. We were also part of Talisman Sabre, and at this moment as well, we have a Canadian contingent participating in Super Garuda Shield in Indonesia. So our military has also played a role in the United Nations Command in South Korea. We have the Deputy Commander, Lieutenant General Macaulay, currently as the Deputy Commander of the UNC. And of course, we are also expanding our cooperation in non-traditional domains such as cyber. This past summer, we held an exercise with Japan. And then as the Indo-Pacific continues to grow in importance and influence, Canada will keep looking for opportunities like this to explore additional opportunities in the region. We will continue deepening our ties through ASEAN, UNC Korea, and engagements like this one. We will keep pursuing military training partnerships and build stronger relationships as well with industry in the region, particularly as we are in the midst of a transformation and modernization of our military. And of course, we will remain in a persistent manner in the region through our various military cooperation and naval deployment in the region. And that is pretty much the essence of our challenge today. No single nation has all the answers, and none of us can meet these threats in isolation. And maybe I can quote the Dalai Lama. If you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. So as a Pacific nation bound by geography, commerce, and for many by blood, Canada shares in the responsibility of promoting peace, security, and stability to this region, and we stand ready to do our part, working shoulder to shoulder with Indo-Pacific partners to ensure this region is free, open, and inclusive for all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. General Jenny, if I may, I cannot let you get away with a prepared speech. I have to ask you a follow-up question.
You're asking me a question already?
For you, yeah, already.
We have two other panelists.
We'll come to them. Just a very quick, see, Jolio knows how we work, but I'll come to him. But just a very, just a quick kind of follow-up. Based on what you've just said, I mean, is Canada's strategic outlook, defense posture, becoming more autonomous in this shift? What we're seeing from Washington, is Canada standing for itself more? Is it less reliant on the U.S.?
So I think we are very conscious of the shift in policies, and my job as Chief of Defense Staff is to adjust to that. So we have a new government in Canada as well, and I have to adapt to a new posture. So again, it's working with our partners to make sure that we align this in a stable fashion. So we have to respond to our political leaders' policies, but we work with other partners around to do this. And of course, we work closely with our United States partner to ensure that we understand each other and then we keep collaborating in that fashion.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I mean, also, I know that we recognize the accountability that you have to the politicians. Let me move to our next speaker from the U.S. And I appreciate and I recognize the parameters you have to work with, being from the military. So Joe and I are from university, so we can say whatever we want. But coming to the next speaker from the U.S., from Hawaii, I want to get the Major General Suzanne Puani Vares Lim. We also have long names in Thailand, so it's okay. But I think you will allow us to call you Director Zuzi, if I may, to Zuzi. Director of the APCSS in Hawaii, is a leading think tank. So Director Zuzi, I know that you've prepared really very colorful slides, and I'm very sorry we're not showing you slides, but we will keep it available. From the U.S., from your perspective, vantage point, and I know that you have some parameters. You're not a government leader, but what can you say about what's happening from Washington? I mean, we heard earlier about the internal debates they're having. I see Washington, the Trump administration, the second Trump administration, two sides of a coin. At home, Joe, I think that they actually have a grand strategy. I mean, it's being contested, but it's at home to be nativist. Keeping immigrants out and keeping it themselves. And then abroad, economic nationalism, protectionism, to restore America's kind of privacy. And it's ironic a little bit because the U.S. was the country, the winner from World War II, that constructed this rules-based international system that we have come to enjoy and benefit from. It's ironic. And, for the small countries, this is really bad news. It's a nightmare for rules-based system to be breaking down. But from your vantage point, Director Zuzi, what can you say about what's happening in the U.S., how it's impacting Asia, Southeast Asia? And I know that you have a lot of activities, cooperation projects with Asian countries, think tanks. Maybe you can also cover that if you like.
Thank you, Dr. If I knew the roles would be reversed, I'd be a little harder if I was on the other end. So thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, General Ponce, for this invitation to be on this panel and with these distinguished leaders here. And I did also have a prepared speech, but I guess we're maneuvering to a different direction. But, as was mentioned with the Deputy Prime Minister, there's no question, that we're living in a time of global disruption. He talked about the power shifting. But I would say that power shifting also is not just great power competition that we are bringing up, but also all domains. We had a great presentation. We heard from previously, just recently, Dr. Eric Schmidt from Google. And he talked about the triad in this domain of AI, autonomous system, and space. That domain is very disruptive. We're focusing on something that's going to affect all our countries, whether small, middle, big powers, all of us together. And it's easy to focus and latch on to things that, in a democracy where we sit, everything is transparent. But that doesn't change the commitment of the United States in this region. What we hear in the press, that AI that continues to reproduce disinformation at a rate that, so something you said and you said will come out like that. But yet the say do, what you hear in the press and what you see in front of you are two different things. And I see it at home in Hawaii. That has been part, having been the president of the East-West Center and now the director of the Asia-Pacific Center, has been a part of the human fabric of this region since 1960 for East-West Center, Asia-Pacific Center, for the past 30 years. And it will continue to invest in the people of this region. It has Hawaii is a Pacific nation. That is my home. My ancestors come from this region and have come and continue to contribute. So that has not changed. I just need to say that because I think the narrative sometimes that we're getting is what we see in that AI-generated disinformation. This is, of course, putting stress on systems and one another. And when we reflect on these challenges, as I said, I think we need to focus also on the opportunities, on where we can partner. Those professional networks, that's whole of government. And we continue to do that at APCSS. And this is a Department of Defense institution. So this idea that we're not looking at the whole of society resilience, it continues to happen. We just had a whole of society resilience workshop where we look at the intersection of civil-military relationships. And the Secretary recently mentioned at Shangri-La as well, the PIPER, the Partners of Indo-Pacific Resilience. If that is not an example of industry, economy connected with defense, that is a great example. Now, and I can't speak to his other comment, but I can say that Partners of the Indo-Pacific Resilience, we are now doing a Mars program, first one ever at APCSS, which is multinational, multilateral armaments resilience seminar, taking a look at partners. Of course, we've invited Thailand, Vietnam, others to come and take a look at supply chain issues. That is very much integrating, not disengaging. It's putting us all together. And we're super excited because we're going to start in September. And then Australia and Japan are joining us as well. And then we will come and look at innovation in our industry, connecting our industry and with defense to ensure a more secure and prosperous region. It's not just, the model of APCSS that I want to mention is a model that brings the United States, Asia, Pacific together. Talk about issues, to educate, to connect, and many people in this room and senior leaders. We were at CHADS, and 6 of them were from APCSS. Many leaders here, over 500 just from Thailand alone, 16,000 across the region from APCSS, who are the movers and shakers. So that investment that you said during World War II that we have invested in the United States continues, and they've risen to the high positions. Now you've got this ability to make the 5-minute phone call that took 25 years to develop. That kind of understanding that transcends the shifts and changes of political leadership or policy, those are enduring. Just ask a soldier. Just ask. You cannot break that. I understand from an academic viewpoint, but that is something that is not broken. It's understood with a nod and a look. When I look at my friends, we know we are in 2 different countries, but we won't remain friends. And we will bridge that understanding. That is something very powerful that I don't think you can change. This model is now actually taking on, I was just here in Thailand, where with Major General Nirut and also General Pontip, where we, with the National Defense Strategic Studies Institute and APCSS, together did a senior security studies program. And it was a model where we brought in not just military, but the interagency and Philippines and Malaysia together to look at some of the key critical issues of disinformation, space, cyber, all those things that the General mentioned that we're facing today, natural disasters, climate change. And that model works. But and I'm not just talking about my institution, there are many institutions in here who use this model. And it's something that we want to continue to replicate because that's going to allow us to seize those opportunities. I also want to mention that, the Secretary of Defense, the Honorable Pete Hegseth, came to APCSS first when he came to the region, before he went to the Philippines and Japan. He came to us in Honolulu because he knew that we had these alumni. We had almost 500 alumni from the region dial in online to hear him. And he said that our relationships and teamwork, quote, this is what he said, you can check us out online, and not that I'm promoting our website, but we have other things you can check out. But the video is there. And he says, our relationships and teamwork form the foundation of achieving peace through strength. It's a vision in which all countries prosper side by side as sovereign, independent states. So prosperity through strong, trusted partnerships. So it is not a leaving, it's about connecting. And it is something that, again, in the military, we have done well. We are one piece, yes, of the broader U.S. government, as you said. And it has been anchored in supporting ASEAN, again, with each sovereign state to build their common peace through strength. We have a long history of working together. Dialogue partner since 1977. The United States established, again, its first diplomatic mission to ASEAN in 2010 and backed the region with over $14.7 billion in assistance since 2002. And the U.S. has attended every ADMM Plus meeting since its inception and continues. We just hosted one at our center this year, and also through our exercises. If you listen to Admiral Paparo's testimony, there's only, and other speakers can correct me if I'm wrong, but 120 exercises in this region that the general mentioned are U.S. partnered, 120 in 1 year. That is not a retreat. That is, I'm engaged and will continue to engage. The recent data from the Lowy Institute illustrates the importance that between 2017 and 2024, the United States ranks Southeast Asia's top defense partner, leading in military exercises and dialogues, and tying with India for the most defense agreements. This demonstrates that the United States partnership are not just symbolic, but they're trusted and operationally relevant today. And our institution, like many in here, complement those defense relationships with executive education, problem solving, and workshops and our expanded alumni networks. And this U.S. role, again, is not about forcing choices. It's about building capacity, interoperability, trust, those things that are important. So to the point, I just want to end. Senator Daniel K. Inouye, who was about peace and strength. Those of you who don't know, he was the most senior senator and from Hawaii. I'm proud to be from Hawaii. He's from Hawaii. But one of the things he said, I want to end with a quote. He said, this place for solving solutions, United States investment, he said, several of us got together and said it's about time we establish a center where leaders, military, diplomatic, and others, and economic, I would say, could get together, sit around, chat, yes, argue, as we are here, which is good, and discuss matters of common interests and common concerns, and come up with solutions, and come up with mutual understanding. And I think that's what should be our objective, is to come up with those solutions, look for the opportunities, because it's very easy to point out the challenges and problems, and we need to, but we also have to spend equal amount of time on how we're going to solve these issues together. The United States is not retreating. We are here.
Thank you very much. That's very reassuring. I think that if I were to characterize the thrust of your remarks, and which is really effective beyond the PowerPoint, it's a strategic reassurance in a way. This testifies to Dr. Leo's earlier point about the mixed signals coming out of Washington, the U.S. You see the news from Washington, you think that they're pulling away, they're pulling out, they are distancing. But here we can see that the U.S. engagement is enduring, you used the word, but it's durable, it's deep, it has a lot of breadth. That's very reassuring to us. Thank you. Now I come to General Songwit, the mastermind of this conference. And, I don't have to introduce him, and he will say whatever he likes to say. But I think picking up on some of the themes that we've heard, and then maybe contextualize it into kind of our Thai perspective. General Songwit, please.
Thank you very much. When I thought about this seminar, I never thought I would be in trouble, but I don't have the intellect or the proficiency in English like those three. So if you have the hard question, ask them. If you want the fun question, ask me. So let me skim and scan because I just want to leave the question to the floor. But lately I've been on an academic marathon, starting with the Irregular Warfare Symposium about 10 days ago, where the special forces came of all over the world. We learned about irregular warfare. We learned about technology to help enable the special operators. And thank you for all the countries that came. And then I went to the CHOTS meeting. So Susie is like the headmaster. In every topic, she would turn to General Songwit, do you have a comment? And my intellect are all used at Hua Hin, so I have no intellect today. But I would say that short meeting, we talk about the regional challenge. We talk about the global challenge. We talk about dis and misinformation, how it intertwines with everyday life, how it's real hard to control or compete in a way that if you take the moral high ground, if you take the ethical way, it's real hard for a standing military to tackle that ethically. Yeah. We also talk about the ASEAN snapshot between U.S. and ASEAN. And there was a lot of things that me, Tan Sri Nisam from Malaysia, and also Dato' Hazaimi talk about how we can push forward something that is intangible to a tangible way. For example, the Myanmar problem, we have the 5-point consensus for a while, but there was not really an implementation how we can come about. Some we did, for example, humanitarian assistance, and Mr. Siasak Excellency was here to witness that, but it needs to have a momentum to really have an impact on the 3 million plus IDP in Myanmar. And the last point, we talk about peace to strength. How can we come together? And many of us share the view of what is our challenge, what is our perception of threat. And I share the view of integrated deterrence to conflict itself, not to an adversary, but to conflict itself. How can we have a mechanism from normal competition to when we have crisis, and to physical contact, physical confrontation. So ASEAN architecture, I think it's there to solve when there's conflict, and then we can revert it back to competition. But it needs the will and the resiliency. I learned this word yesterday from one of the Thai professors. Sir, when you go on panel, use the word resiliency, you will look very good. So I'm not really sure what it means, but they told me to use this resiliency word, and she's sitting back there. But anyway, if ASEAN can step up its architecture to incorporate extra regional engagement, for example, Canada and elsewhere, I think we will be better off as a mechanism in this Asia-Pacific or Indo-Pacific arena, that we can keep the peace and prosperity. When you talk about peace and prosperity, you have to balance. We talk at CHOTS, you have to balance between the economic growth and the ensuring security, which is real hard. In ASEAN, we in the past decades, I think sometimes we choose the economic engagement with one country or one bloc, and we create another security to another bloc. It's an art, and it's a science in itself, how you manage that through your national power, diplomacy, informational, military, and economics. I don't have the wisdom to tell you how you do it. I just gave an interview this morning, first time in my life, with the Standards channel, and she asked me the same thing. So hopefully venues like this will help us to be more transparent in our objective in this area, and also can help us gain some wisdom from Joseph, Jenny, and Susie, that we can make this world a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Songwit. Well put. Look, we have ample time, over a half hour, so for questions, comments, please. I think there's some microphones around me. Microphone, make up. Please raise your hand, and then our assistants will deliver the microphones. Let me just pose this question to Dr. Leo and also the other panelists before question comments raised. Are we doomed for conflict? Is it deterministic? I mean, are we destined for conflict? So, for example, we had this U.S.-Soviet Union, as already mentioned. The U.S.-China geostrategic competition and rivalry is not just competition now. It's actually confrontation and geoeconomic conflict. And General Songwit made a very good point about the trade-off or the correlation between growth and security. If you have a lot of growth, you need a lot of security. If you have a lot of insecurity, you have less growth. But that's where we are in this region, particularly, smaller states, Southeast Asia. So, Joe, what do you think? Is U.S.-China going to get worse, and how should we prepare?
Well, I would like to be optimistic about it, but I think it's going to be rough still for U.S.-China relations. I give you an example in the context of defense dialogue and the opening of channels, or the idea that more channels between the United States and China should be open. And I think for us in ASEAN, whatever differences Southeast Asians have, we have always believed in consultation, process, and the opening of channels, right? So when we interact with Americans and the Chinese, we make that point, and we hope that they will open channels of communication. The American response is, been there, done that, useless, right? Chinese don't pick up the phone. The EP3 incident and this happened at a time when relations were better than they are now. But there are, if someone does a study on it, you really see very divergent narratives about what actually happened and how it was managed. The United States was very frustrated at how the Chinese were managing it, right? They wanted to have that communications. The Chinese were not receptive. So now, when the situation is even more tense, when we put forward this notion that we hope the militaries will talk more, the reaction that we get on the American side, and it's understandable, is that we've tried and we've pushed for consultations, but it hasn't helped. And they talk about not just in the security realm, in the trade realm, where the United States ushered China into the WTO, right? And in the hope that China will be a major contributor in the way that the United States hoped that it would. And then, of course, there's the discussion about the impact of that on Chinese politics and ideology and all that sort of stuff, right? But the fact of the matter is that the conclusion now is that all we did was give China, all the US did was give China a free ride. Yeah, and they took advantage of it, right? A country that produces 30% is consuming, 15, 16%. Not enough, right? And basically taking advantage of the rules-based system as far as global trade is concerned. Yeah, so this is the perspective of China in the United States now. I'm not saying that it's a sort of coherent or unified perspective. I think within the U.S. there are a lot of discussions about what to do with the China problem, but there is consensus that there is a China problem, and China is indeed a growing problem for the U.S. The difference is how to handle it. So I'm not confident that we will see light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon. That's not to say that it will slide down to conflict. Because again, I believe that whatever the shortcomings of dialogue or limitations of dialogue, I think Susie made an important point, that personal connection, the ability to pick up the phone and talk to people. I think that is still quite critical. So I do hope, but I wish I could be more confident about the upswing in relation.
Thank you. Thank you. The floor is open for question, comment. Please raise your hand. What worries me is what you said, Joe, on the other side. So in the U.S., there's a kind of a popular perception now, a consensus now, that China has ripped off the U.S. The U.S. feels ripped off. They have grievances. They have resentment against the international system because everyone has come up and the U.S. and it's gone down, infrastructure, the roads, the schools, hospitals, and so on. And you can see this message is being espoused in Washington, conveyed in Washington. On the other side, when I go to China in my limited trips, the Chinese also feel that whatever they do, the U.S. is going to keep China down. They will be denied their place. They will be denied their reclamation of glory and greatness that they used to have. And this is the contrasting trend that I think is very worrying, because it's not just government policy, not just an administration here, there, but it's popular perceptions, popular sentiments.
Can I respond?
Please, Director Susie.
No, thank you. I just want to say that that's why I think dialogue is so critical. And, we just had the ADMM Plus medical that included China at our center in Honolulu, and as well as the maritime consultations that will be coming up. So at various levels, it's complex, right? It's easy to say at one level and distill it down to one sense, but there are multiple levels of engagement on different issues to ensure miscalculation doesn't happen. That peace through strength and deterrence. Yes, in the interim national defense guidelines of the United States, it clearly says PRC, but we want to deter, we want to have peace through strength. And the fact that our chairman, given everything going on, spent 2 days in Hua Hin here, and there's only 6 members of the Joint Chiefs, and 2 of them were here. That is the Chief of the National Guard Bureau, that's responsible for 54 states and territories, was here for 2 days. That is unprecedented. To me, that's not a retreat. That is a forward movement to me, and a statement is important. As well as, again, with my previous job at East West Center, at every level we've had, Chinese leaderships at the highest level who have come through our programs that have relationships, particularly Hawaii. Hawaii has long relationships. It's not about the China or the Chinese people. The Chinese Communist Party is very different from the close relationships that we have, which goes back to those relationships that maybe we can engage. But it's the dialogue, the minilaterals, the bilaterals that continue to exist, that we continue to invest in at our center, again, a Department of Defense organization. So I just want to put that on the table.
Thank you very much. Our next panel will also have an eminent Chinese speaker, Professor Zhang, so we'll hear also the Chinese perspective. I appreciate, and I think we are reassured by your remarks in Thailand and Southeast Asia, the U.S. is here to stay, and that the depth of engagement is not just resilient, but it's enduring and it's durable. It's long-term commitment. I think there was a hand here, please. Question or comment? Please tell us who you are first.
Good morning. Good morning. I am. My name is Saranjapat. I suppose in this room I'm a representative for the newer generation. You have talked. All of you have talked to some extent about the intertwined dynamics between economic growth and security dynamics, and the integrated nature between these two issues. Given that many countries within Southeast Asia, especially Thailand, seem to have an economic dependence on China and a security dependence to an extent on the U.S., two great powers seemingly at odds with each other. What would you identify as the main challenge in balancing this precarious dynamic, and how do we overcome it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good question. Any other question, comment at this time? If not, it is a good question for us to deep dive into. The pattern trend in the region has been that we like the U.S. as a so-called offshore balancer. And then we rely on China for growth and development, for trade. China is the biggest economic partner of all Southeast Asian countries. The U.S. is the biggest export market, but China is the biggest economic partner. And this trend, we would like to keep this trend ongoing indefinitely. We would like the U.S. to be engaged for security imperatives, but we would like to also rely on China for our growth and development. But this trend now is being tested, and the question is very good that can this be kept, maintained indefinitely, or, Joe, I know you've written about this, or are we being compelled and forced to choose U.S. or China? And, you can see the tariffs, 19%, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, 20% Vietnam, and all the export controls, the various geoeconomic instruments being applied. Now, for example, on transshipments, it will be very difficult for Thailand, Southeast Asian economies, to prove, what we make, what we produce, how much of it is local content, how much is from China. So in a way, we feel in the region that the U.S. is putting the squeeze on supply chains and squeezing out China. And if we're going to rely on both, it will be more difficult. I don't know if, Joe, quick reaction from you?
Okay, I don't want to dominate the panel, but quick reactions. I think the first thing we actually need to remember is this dichotomy between security with the U.S. economy, with China. Yes and no. I mean, we have to remember that the United States remains the largest investor by far in Southeast Asia. Yeah. Although it's a bit different from China, right? China is more state-oriented. U.S. is more private sector. But nevertheless, in real terms, it's the largest investor by far, even higher than investments in China, Japan, combined. But therein lies the challenge with the current administration, because the current administration, as Titnan mentioned about economic nationalism, onshoring, is something that they want to do. So in the past, the narrative is this. We tell the Americans that, look, you have stakes in the region, because you have invested, your companies have invested so heavily in the region. And that message is welcome in Washington. Today, if you tell that message to the economic team in Washington, their first thinking is, why are Americans investing so much in Southeast Asia and not back home? Right? So there's this very qualitative and might in the next few years become a quantitative change in that aspect of the relationship. So that's the first thing. The second thing about choosing sites, there's no easy answer. We are really in a difficult situation, right? 5 years ago, when we were talking about U.S. and China don't make us choose sites, the response from U.S. and China has always been, we don't intend to make you choose sites. Although I've always suspected that the subtext is there's a second part to the sentence that they think is you should know which site to choose already. Yeah, but they never articulate that. But that was 5 years ago. Today, you don't get that response anymore. In fact, both sides are very open about this issue of choice, right? The Trump administration has said that, when we do our tariff negotiation, one thing that we are very interested in is transshipment, specifically in relation to China. And what sort of access are you offering the Chinese into our U.S. market or access to U.S. technology and investments? We're going to focus on that. The president himself has said that any country now who wants to join BRICS, immediately I'm going to tariff you. Yeah, may not be so straightforward, but by saying that, you send a ripple effect. And the Chinese, Xi Jinping has said very clearly, whatever you negotiate with the United States, make sure that China's interests are not undermined or compromised. Yeah. So if that's not making you choose sides, I don't know what is. Right? So So this is the situation we're in. There's no easy way out of it. The only thing that we can really do is to think beyond the US and China. I think we are all also, ironic that I'm saying this because I've been talking about US and China, but at the same time we are so fixated with the US and China that we don't sort of broaden our aperture and look at the other opportunities. We have to deepen our own efforts at regionalism, right? We have to diversify our relationships. I mean, for a number of years, we've been talking about ASEAN plus one with regards to China, right? Sorry, not ASEAN plus one. We're talking about China plus one, right? Now, we are talking about US plus one. Yeah? We're talking about it very, very openly in the region. I mean, there's no doubting the defense and security commitments, right? But again, as my points I was trying to make is that there's a disconnect between that and the economic puzzle. Yeah, you're here, but you're not here, right? We want you to be here in a cohesive manner, right? Because if you're only here in the defense realm and not the economics realm, quite apart from the fact that it is going to have a negative effect on the economies of the region, it's going to play into the Chinese narrative. What's the Chinese narrative to the region? The Chinese narrative to the region is, look, China, we are interested in economic growth. We these security issues, I mean, this is what they say. I mean, intent, that's a different thing, right? But this is what they tell us in the region. And then they point to the United States and say, look, the US is only interested in sending aircraft carriers to the region, yeah, and tariffs, right? How do you argue against that? Right? We want the aircraft carriers, but we don't want the tariffs. But they seem to come together.
Thank you, Joe. The floor is still open. I'm going to invite remarks from the General and also Director Susie. But just to say, if push comes to shove and a choice is compelled, there's a dilemma with the Chinese because for Southeast Asia, the Chinese don't buy. I mean, they're tourists, but, they're competitive with export-oriented Southeast Asian economies. So it's one dilemma that for China. Yes. And this U.S.-China, it's almost like having the cake and eat it too, right? You rely on China for growth and investment, technology, tourism, and so on, but you rely on the U.S. to keep you safe and secure and stability in the region. It's not exclusive to Southeast Asia. I mean, Europe faces the same dilemma. So maybe Canada also is similar, right? I mean, there's a German strategy on China because they need China, but they need the U.S. For Canada, you still need China, would you? And then you still have to have the U.S. What do you think?
Yes, and if I may, from a military perspective, build on the great observations from my colleagues. At the base of all of this is we've spoken about it many times already this morning. It's the interconnectedness of all of our systems, both from an economic and a security perspective. And I think this is both a strength and a weakness at the same time. And we just have to navigate and make this work for us. Prosperity is very contagious. The creation of wealth, when we are on that momentum, there is great opportunity to create wealth around, but so is conflict. Conflict is also contagious. So there's a lot of contradictions as part of all of this, but I think we can work. We can make this interconnectedness work at our collective advantage. And I think, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a bumpy road. It's going to be very difficult to navigate through this, but I am positive that reason will prevail in the end because of that interconnectedness that we have with each other. But from a military perspective, we have to walk into this eyes wide open and ensure that our security systems and instruments of power are strengthened and robust enough to be able to enter into those negotiations. So again, lots of opportunities, but also a lot of risks as part of this.
Thank you. Let me turn to Director Zuzi, and the floor. I'm still looking for hands. I'm surprised not seeing more. Okay, there's one here. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Come back to you very quickly, Director Zuzi. I mean, reaction.
I just want to just build on what the General said on the interconnectedness, and it is very complex. I think it's very easy to distill it down that, the U.S. retreating, the U.S. economy, and I'm not going to speak on the economy too much, but I do want to note the foreign direct investment in ASEAN, in the United States. Companies and innovation that continue to drive the partnerships, and those relationships are tight. And so, I think we can, it's easy to sometimes use fear to, fear can drive the headlines, and that's what makes it. So I just caution on that from my personal perspective, and also want to quote what Secretary Hegseth said from our center. Again, you can find it online. Our relationships and teamwork form the foundation of achieving peace through strength, and that's the partnerships that we saw, and that was the theme, as General Song-Wit mentioned, of the CHODS conference, and that it's a vision in which all countries prosper. So it is, he clearly says in there, it is within the interest that all countries prosper side by side as sovereign, independent states, not having to choose. So I think that I want to put that on the record.
Thank you.
That's
noted.
What he said.
Thank you. Well noted. Let me come to General Song-Wit, and I'll go back to the floor. Just a couple of issues, General Song-Wit.
Just very short, 2 minutes. When small countries look at the challenge between U.S. and China, we are quite worried of how it will take, which direction it will take. But I give you a shining example. About a year and a half ago, there's an open secret that Wang Yi and Jake Sullivan met in Thailand, with the facilitator being Prime Minister Sethar, on the issue of Myanmar. And then he talked, we are quite close, me and Prime Minister Sethar, so he asked me, how do you feel about it? I feel very uplifting. I feel very, very happy that this is happening on the issue that we hold dear is the conflict in Myanmar. So after that meeting, there was quite an agreement that there will be no geopolitics challenge in Myanmar itself, because the Myanmar cause is about human suffering. And I hope that this direction still goes for both countries, and this is a mutual benefit, a mutual space that we can work, and Thailand and ASEAN also is ready to offer this kind of engagement, this kind of cooperation, and I think we can make a better world with the two major powers being very mature in their engagement. Thank you much.
Would you say, General Song-Wit, that for Thailand, we like to be in a room where both the U.S. and China are present and engaged? And even better than that, we would like to provide that room where the U.S. and China can be included, both of them. For example, in the Thai-Cambodian issue, when there was a meeting for the ceasefire follow-up with Prime Minister Anwar in Malaysia, conspicuously, Chinese ambassador was there, U.S. ambassador was there. So both the U.S. and China in the same room with Thailand, Cambodia, and Malaysia, ASEAN as a chair. That's a kind of maybe a direction that we like.
Let's say on the military side, I think all engagement with the thoughts of the interests of the Thai people as the core of the agenda. We will engage with every country, not only U.S. and China, countries from the Europe, countries from South America. If it benefits the Thai interest and it benefits the region as a whole, the ASEAN as a whole, I fully support it, sir.
And even beyond ASEAN, right? So, I mean, Thailand, ideally, we would love to host a meeting between President Trump and Kim Jong-un or whoever, leaders of the world. I think there were two hands here. One here. We'll take a round of three. Yes. General, you have. Okay, thank you. The first hand there, second hand there, and third hand is General. Please keep it concise if you can.
Okay,
so
thank
we
you.
Can take a whole
Madam
round.
Sir, my name is Jarupon Rungsuwan from School of Diplomacy and International Studies, Rangsit University. So I have questions regarding the look of the world in the future. So there's a notion saying that nowadays the world is in the post-Cold War period, in which the world is more closely connected, but also very, very fragmented. And some even worried about the decline of the value of liberalism, which might affect the cooperation. So my question is, how do you think about this notion, and what kind of world you think we're going to see in the next decade? Thank you.
Okay, very broad question about the next decade, decline of liberalism, fragmented world. Second question, lady in front.
All right. Good morning, Excellencies. My name is Hamberly Surya, and I'm a visiting fellow at ICSU South Asia Institute in Singapore. My question to you, any panelists who would entertain the question, it seems that we hear a lot about the great power and even middle powers' vision and mission about the Indo-Pacific. By that extension, also includes some part of the maritime Southeast Asia. My question is, but what about the mainland Southeast Asia, wherein the China problem may manifest differently than our maritime counterparts? And keeping that in mind, that the mainland Southeast Asia may turn into the new regional conflict flashpoints. For instance, civil war that's been ongoing in Myanmar for the past 4 or 5 years, and interstate dispute that literally between the next door neighbor fighting each other. So that's my question.
Okay, thank you. 2 conflicts in mainland Southeast Asia, civil war, internal conflicts, subnational conflict, and then intra-ASEAN conflict, Thailand, Cambodia. Third one here, the general, if you could, you can have the last one.
All right.
Let me go to there was a hand here. General Surasit, yeah?
So, okay, thank you very much. I'm Surasit Thanatang, the former military from National Defense College, think tank. It's not a comment, but also some of my recommendation regarding what General Songwit talked about. I found that the geopolitical confrontation can be shifted to the geopolitical cooperation through what, if we talk about the multilateral diplomacy approach or the information mechanism for crisis management that General Songwit mentioned in some part of Southeast Asia. I think this is one of the way ahead and way that we can help solve conflict on the what you call the framework of the accountability framework initiative. So my recommendation is that not only the conflict in Myanmar, but in so many places in this region, we can look at the crisis management that we can create informal mechanism through the multilateral diplomacy. That is my
Okay,
comment.
thank you very much for your recommendation. We'll take that in store. Informal channels, mechanisms for conflict resolution, cooperation. General, you have the last question, but it has to be a short one.
Very short. Please don't move. I just need to use the topic. The question here is geopolitical confrontation and conflict. Where is the confrontation? Where is the conflict? And what is the roots of the conflict? Then only we can look into the implication to the security analysis. I, per se, will look into, based on the roots, then I will, because our security will be diverse and different from one nation to one nation. What about alliances? What about bloc? What about security alliances? This should be addressed as well, because the topic is very important and very pertinent. So if we dissect one by one, and then we should look into what is the best way forward for us to develop as one security strategy, as one, rather than dissecting it and a lot of other things coming in. The security strategies is important to address the confrontation and the conflict. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a good comment, observation, and recommendation really. We forget to look at how to make strategies, security strategies, conducive and effective for preventing conflict and confrontation. So a couple of questions about the next 10 years, very broad, what's going to happen. And then this mainland Southeast Asia conflicts is really something we're very concerned about. We had the Myanmar civil war since 2021, but now the Thai-Cambodian issue, conflict, tension, and both in mainland Southeast Asia, both now, I think, topping the ASEAN agenda for discussions and summit and so on. So maybe let me come down the other way, if I could, and then we'll wrap it up. Minute each. You don't have to answer anything. Can we start with you, General Songwit? We have now these two conflicts. Mainland Southeast Asia, is it what can be done? What should be done? And then the next decade, rules breaking down, international system breaking apart. What to do?
Susie brought a very good speaker at Shorts. He's a former Japanese diplomat. He talked about the dilemma in ASEAN being the centrality of ASEAN and the unity of ASEAN. We often talk about the centrality of ASEAN, but not the unity of ASEAN. So I leave you to ponder upon if we can marry the two and we can have the will, the political will to engage whatever we face in ASEAN. I still believe in the ASEAN spirit, and it represented here today by General Nisam being here, General Hasaimi. Tomorrow is Malaysian Independence Day, but he's spending time with me, so I think this really represents or shine the ASEAN spirit. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Susie?
No, thank you so much. Just as the General said, some of the things when we brought in that speaker, also a speaker who was the VP or the creator, co-founder of Google, talked about AI. When you look about implications for security studies, confrontation, this idea, some of the things that we have done in many other institutions here are sort of looking at mini-lateral compositions and tabletop exercises that look at different scenarios. So AI can be dangerous, it can be for good. The good, when we look at how could we get to the Myanmar issue, like have we even tried to look at what are the scenarios and do wargaming of possible solutions? And I say wargame, but kind of solutions-based tabletop discussion. And that's, we talk about it up here, but we don't get around and get our hands right into it to take a look. Because I say the next 10 years is going to be wrought with us trying to grapple with this very rapid change. And Dr. Eric Schmidt said, really, in the next 3 to 5 years, that is going to dominate AI-based autonomous systems and machine learning. And that's something that I think we all collectively have to address.
Thank you very much. That's collectively, that's a paradigm shift in itself in autonomous system and space. Thank you. And I think about the ASEAN, we forget, we should be studying scenarios and solutions, not to study anything, but scenarios and solutions for preventing conflict and confrontation. For ASEAN, we require that unity. No unity, no centrality. General Jenny.
Yes, thank you. Maybe I just want to touch on the question on the fragmented world challenging liberalism. I think this is a very important question. And from my perspective, from a military professional, we have to see things in a much more comprehensive way, because it's not just, security is not just about the military. Now with the complexity of the security challenges that we are facing, we got to work on our social resilience and so on and so forth. So when we're talking about disinformation, misinformation, we have organized crime organizations that are just as well equipped as the military, but traditionally this is not a military function. We really have to work comprehensively across all of our national instruments of power to actually have an impact on our own security. So it's not just about doing it each in our individual own way. but also that comprehensive approach internal to our countries is also a big part of the challenge and needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. In the last minute that remains, Joe.
Okay.
Just maybe you're the right speaker for this. The next 10 years, we don't say, I don't like to say rules-based liberal international order because a lot of the global South friends and colleagues, they don't like, they get agitated by the liberal. But the next 10 years, breaking down what's going to happen, what to do. And then this mainland Southeast Asia conflicts, two conflicts, how do we resolve and mitigate?
Okay, very quickly, the big next 10 years, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, right? But a number of things. The first is about this liberal international order, which was never liberal nor international in the first place. So it's prime for change. It's prime for change, no question about it. But I think two trends in particular I would be interested in. Number one is economic growth, which I think, given the current trajectory, is going to slow globally. Yeah, and this is something that we're going to have to deal with. So it's ironic, right? We have to increase our defense budgets, but then our GDP is going to slow and come down. So actually, you're not increasing anything, right? In a real sense. Number two is technology, right? The impact that technological developments have on international relations, international affairs. We are just scratching the surface of it, yeah. And not just that, but warfare as well. The impact of technology on warfare. So these are things that we need to keep an eye on. On mainland Southeast Asia, the first thing I would say is actually, as unfortunate as the events of the last few years, civil war in Myanmar is at up to 80 years old, right? It's not 4 years, it's 80 years. What we need to do is try to prevent it from going on for another 80 years. ASEAN is trying its best, but at the end of the day, Myanmar, whoever is ruling, governing Myanmar, I mean, the decision lies there. The decision lies there. Yeah? And I think coming up with some kind of a national consensus, which has been elusive, hence 80 years, that is going to be very, very tricky. The question I would pose to the people who are in power in Myanmar is that if you really want to fix that problem, there are actually a lot of lessons globally, right? Not perfect fits, but you can learn a bit from the experiences of others. The question is whether you're prepared. That is the question. But the larger issue of this maritime mainland, I totally agree. I mean, the sense is that mainland Southeast Asia is China's backyard, not just geographically, but strategically as well. Yeah? And that is a reality. And the mainland Southeast Asian states, including Thailand, know that there's a reality, and that is something that they have to grapple with. The last reaction, General, I totally agree with you also. With regards to US and China, I think fundamentally the lack of trust, in fact zero trust, if I may put it that way, today, between the US and China, the fact that they are suspicious of everything that the other party is trying to do, including efforts to reach out, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. So the question is how to start to rebuild some degree of trust between the two of them. I think there are fundamental differences between the United States and China today, which cannot be reconciled, can only be managed. But in order to manage it, you need a degree of trust, which I think is not quite there yet. Hopefully, we'll get to that point.
Thank you very much. I think we've laid out a lot of the issues and material for subsequent sessions. I think very dynamic here. Lunch awaits, so please join me in thanking all of the speakers, Dr. Joe Liu, General Jenny, Director Susie, and perhaps above all, General Songwit for getting us all together here for this forward-looking conference that's based in Thailand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all our panelists and, of course, our moderator as well. What a great session it has been. Geopolitical confrontation and conflict implications for security strategies. And ladies and gentlemen, actually, I would just like to add that the underlying basis of all this is communication. I think we need to set up like venues for talk and to communicate together, such as this great venue of Thailand Security Dialogue is one of the venues that we can bring all allies and partners together and we communicate, and that kind of helps create trust and confidence among each other. And of course, now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to proceed on with the tokens of appreciation, which we would like to present to all our speakers and our moderator on this occasion as well. And if I may, I would like to invite General Pongthep Keo Chayo, the Commanding General of the National Defense Studies Institute, NDSI, to present tokens of appreciation to the panelists, please. Right. So to the first recipient, I would like to ask General Songwit Nunpakdi to receive a gift as token of appreciation from General Pongthep Keo Chayo ขออนุญาตเรียนเชิญท่านผู้บัญชาการฐานสูงสุดรับของที่ระลึกครับจากผู้บัญชาการสถาบันวิชาการป้องกันประเทศนะครับ Thank you. And next, if I could ask for General Jenny Carringen from Canada to receive a token of appreciation also from General Pongthep, the Chief of Defense of the Canadian Armed Forces. And next, if I could invite Major General Retired Susan Guanani Vareslam, Director of DKI APCSS, please. Another great speaker, please, Dr. Joseph Liu Chinyong. From S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies, Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. Thank you. And ever so grateful to our moderator for this morning session, Professor Dr. Titinan Pong Sutirak, please. And now if I could ask all the speakers back to the stage together with General Pongthep ขออนุญาตเรียนเชิญทุกท่านนะครับที่เป็นแพนโนลเมื่อสักครู่นะครับยืนเข้าประจำที่เพื่อถ่ายภาพหมู่อีกรูปหนึ่งครับ So the panelists, moderator for a great group picture here, ladies and gentlemen. So look straight again at the cameras. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right. So one more. 1, 2, 3. Very good. One more. Okay, we're good. All right. Thank you very much. And a big hand, please, to all our panelists. What a great occasion it has been. A great start to our Thailand Security Dialogue 2025. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we'll show you on the screen right now the QR codes for the documents that you can download. Obviously, you don't need to carry any paper now. We are in the paperless world, or trying to be. So download the QR codes for all the documents and slides that we have. And also, we'd like to acknowledge the sponsors who have been so kind in providing and helping organize this great event as well. But now, ladies and gentlemen, you all deserve food, right? Because you already had food for thought. Now you have food for the stomach. And I think we have the rooms ready.
Yes, so lunch is served. So you can just proceed to the London room 123 on the second floor, and we will resume at 13 hours for section 2. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. So once again, the lunch will be at London rooms number 1, number 2, number 3, all 3 room connected. So on the second floor, as you go down the escalator, and you'll reach to that. You reach the rooms once at London rooms 1, 2, and 3. And of course, please be back here promptly at 1 o'clock. Don't forget. Please be back here promptly at 1 o'clock because we have so many more sessions to continue on for the afternoon as well. So with this, have a wonderful lunch and bon appetit to all of you. We'll see you then in the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.